Microsoft Word 2003 Advanced Features. I know many of you have been thinking about getting your Office User Specialist for Word, whether it's in your Core or Expert. We have a couple of features that you really need to know, some advanced feature sets that will set you on your road to success. Well, we definitely saved the best for last, right? Importing and linking data for your charts, creating forms, things like drop-down fields and checkboxes. And I know you were wondering when we were going to talk about macros. Well, here you go. Here in our last video, you get to see some of the cool advanced features that you need to know for not only the exam, but they really will help you out there in the business world. For example, let's go ahead and open up our blank Microsoft document here. And let's say I want to insert a chart based on information that I have in my my sales. So I've got my Acme Instruments Inc. sales report, blah, 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 information. So we got information. Now I want to insert a chart right here that I want to import data from one of my Excel spreadsheets that deals with the Acme Instruments sales report. Now what I'm going to do is come up here and click Start, All Programs, come up to Office here, open Excel 2003, and one of my things I have is my bulk instrument sales. So I have all this data that I want to include for my bulk instrument sales, right? Well, what do I want to do? I want to, take this information and paste it into my document. Now, okay, so what I do is I come here and I select, and we'll just go ahead and select for the first 30 days here, all that information, or how many you have. Select that information, come up here to Edit, Copy, so it copies that information. I minimize my source, in this case it's Excel. You can also use database information if you want. I click Insert, Picture, Chart. Now what this is going to do is it's going to bring up a sample chart with east, west, north, fun information here. I select in the cell right here and I come up to Edit and I click Paste. Now when I paste it, it pastes it in over all that information that I have, all of it down here and rolling down here. So I click off of it and now I have every single day. Now of course I picked a huge amount of information, sales numbers, and this is only to give you an example. But you can have this information and you can include it as part of your chart. Now if I want to edit this chart, you double click it and that brings up your data sheet, and you'll notice up here you have the information to change anything like that. Now what I could do if I wanted to, instead of on this clarinet, trumpet, violin, if I just wanted to have a certain information, I can come over here and import a file, go over to my example files, and say that, what was that, bulk instrument sales, and open, and it'll say, where do you want to select that sheet from? We want sheet 1. Do you want the entire sheet? Do you want a range? We might say that we only want the range of maybe E4 to G13, or something like that. And so you go ahead and select that. It takes the information and it puts it in for you. So, again, this is all good. And put in guitar and drum down here. $125 and the drum was $75, so whatever you got, and it puts it into the chart for you and produces the 3D columns. What if I want to link this, though? Remember, what if I'm updating this Microsoft Excel spreadsheet and I'm changing something like that? Well, all we need to do is come in there and instead of pasting, notice on my edit, I have paste. I can also paste a link. Check this out. It says Microsoft Graph, you are going to replace the existing data. What do you want to do? Replace the existing data with the importer link data, blah, 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 blah. Yes, we say OK. And it goes in and it selects all the data and it puts it in here, and here's our prices and all the information that we want. And I can scroll down and see all the different types. Now, of course, you'll notice this is a 3D column. What if I don't want 3D columns? What if I want something different? Well, I can come up over here to the actual chart type, and I can select just like I would with anything else. If I want a column or a bar chart, Maybe I want to use a stacked bar, or do a 100% or whatever it is. Let's do a clustered bar and click OK. Well, then, now it changes it to a clustered bar, so I can do that. But watch what happens. Now that I pasted a link, if I come up here to edit and click on links, watch this. You are linked to an Excel sheet, and here it is, document settings, where the location, the source file. Do I want to update it automatically? Do I want to update it manually? I can do that. I can open up the source to look at it, where it can come here. I can change my source. I can break the link. I can update it now. All of these options are under the link. How cool is that? So I can instantly update information on this particular source file, my bulk instrument sales, and it will then update all of my documents and my sales reports. You gotta love the way Office plays nice with everybody else in that whole sandbox, right? So let's go ahead and just cancel out of that, and we'll go ahead and close our data sheet, and we can select off of our chart. So there we go. There's one advanced feature that we have now seen that will enable us now to come in here and update charts, create charts, graphs, whatever you want from data from outside sources. So the next thing we're going to take a look at is your form fields that you can use. Go ahead and File, open up one of my other documents here, and I have one called Forms here. And let's say I wanted to create a form letter that can be used on a website that people could then use drop-down fields and check boxes and type in things. Well, we can do this with our Forms toolbar. Now, what you do is, before you can add any of these, you need to come up to View, Toolbars, Forms, and it opens up my little Forms toolbar here that I can place up here. And notice it says, "Dear Sir or Madam, thank you for your interest in," thank you for you, and good thing I can do editing here, "your interest in purchasing an Acme instrument. Please indicate which instrument you would like below." Now, wouldn't it be cool, especially if you save this as a website, you can have a drop-down fields and all kinds of things. In fact, let's go ahead and do one. You have choices here of text form fields, where just input certain text, check boxes, which we'll use. Drop-down form fields, we can do draw tables and insert tables, frames, all kinds. We can reset the form fields and even protect the form, so that way nobody comes in and makes changes afterwards. In this case, we're going to do a drop-down form field. I click on it, and it says, all right, here's where your drop-down form field is going to be. I want to do the form field options on it. So I come here, and it says, well, what do you want the drop-down fields to be? Well, I'm going to say, well, one of the drop-down fields would be a clarinet. So I add that one. Then I can say I want a tuba, I want a baritone, I want an oboe, and I want a violin. Now notice, if you want them to be in alphabetical order or something like that, you can select any one of these and move them up. Like baritone should be up on top, so I can move it up. Tuba should be down. Yep, there we go. B, C, O, T, B. So now they're in order. Now you can also, and we'll talk about macros in just a second, you can run macros where if someone selects something, they'll do something and move, and then what can they do when they exit it. So that's kind of fun. Field settings, if it's a bookmark, you can use drop-down 1. You can add help text. So when you do that, you can do a status bar. You can do a help key that will fire off the, when you hit F1, it'll tell you what to type in there. I like status bar, and you can put in something right here and say, type in or select your instrument. Okay, so you can go ahead and put that in there. So now it's going to have that. And calculate on exit, we'll go in and do that, add the help text. So we've got all this. So this is our drop-down field options. We click OK, and it shows you by default with the shading turned on what the first one will be. So this has got it all set up and ready to go. So that's kind of cool. Now it'll say, would you like insurance for this instrument? That'll be a check box, right? So we'll say yes, and I want to put a check box here. So I come up here and I say I want to insert a checkbox form field. Boop. There it is. Now if I want to do the options for that, again, I come over here to the form field options and say auto checkbox, it's 10 point. You can do an exact size or change it. Default value is not checked, and same thing will happen. It'll say entry of running a macro. If you select that, you can have it do something if you want. Add the help text. We'll go ahead and click OK. And then so I come over here, no space, insert another one. So that way people can do a little check mark on that. Please type in the date you would like this delivered. So this one would be just a standard text form field. Now when you do this and you hit the form field options, you can say, do you want it regular text? Do you want it to be a date? Do you want it to be the default date? What's the maximum length? You might want to, unlimited. What do you want the date format to be? You can force it to be month, day, year. Again, run macros, add help text. And so the help text might be, you can go ahead and say use month, day, and year. Okay, month, day, year. I guess you just use Y there. And so you click OK. Yeah. Oh, double Y. Change that. Double Y. Okay. So now we've done that, and we've added our help text. So we can do that and go ahead and go OK. So what we've done now is using these forms, we've built something that now if we save this off and people use it, they can use drop-down fields. They can do a whole bunch of things just merely by going in here and using the forms. So the last thing that we're going to want to do is go ahead and create macros and even show you how you can edit them. One of the last advanced features we have. So if I wanted to, I can scroll down here and instead of Acme Instruments, let's say I don't want to automatically have to type in Acme Instruments Inc. Let's say I wanted to do it automatically or automagically, as my friend likes to say, Brian. So here you can say, let's say I want to create a macro now that will automatically type in Acme Instruments Incorporated. Well, I can come up here to my tools, macro, and if I don't see macro, I can just go ahead and click on the expand here. Macro, record new macro. Now it's going to say, all right, what do you want to call this? Well, right now I've got macro name is macro1. That's not a good name. So we'll say signature or company sig, and I'll go description here instead of just saying when I recorded this and say types in Acme Instrument Inc. So that way I know the description when I'm looking at a little bit later on. Now what you can do here obviously is either put it on as a macro on the toolbar or you can make a keyboard shortcut. So in this case we'll go ahead and go with the toolbars. Now it gives you the options that you can have here, show standard and formatting toolbars and everything like that. But if I wanted to click on commands here, here's the categories that I have, macros, but also the toolbars that I have. So I have all my different toolbars that I want to use, and of course you have your Visual Basic and you can show those as you want to. And if I come over here to my commands, I can click on this and I can drag it over to any one of these toolbars that I want to. And see, all I need to do is if the one I'm not, that isn't there, I can open up one. Maybe this will be a well, do I have the drawing one? Yeah, okay, here's the drawing one down here. I do have it open. So I can drag it down here and input it right here. And what do we want? Well, put it right here next to the text field. And now here's my normal new macros company sig, and you can modify the selection, text only, default sign, copy the button image. You can change the buttons and everything what do you want it to be. Change the button image to, I like to say, let's see, do we have a company looking thing here? I don't know. Some people like to use this as the button. I'll go ahead and just say a happy smiley face right down there. And there's my thing. And I can say image and text or text only in the menus, text only always, default style, whatever you want to do. So that's when you modify selection. So we go ahead and close this. Now watch what's going to happen. It's going to say, all right, time to start recording. See how my mouse cursor here, or actually my mouse pointer looks like a little tape recorder. So I type in, and let's say I want to make this with a different font, Comic Sans, because it looks better. Acme Instruments INC. Okay? Now, up here, I can stop the recording or pause. If I want to add more to it without changing, doing something, I can pause it. I'll go ahead and stop the recording. So now all I've done is I went ahead and I created this new macro which is right down here, company SIG, and it kind of gives me that. And you can change the text and modify it so it doesn't look so freaky there, normal, new macros, company SIG. And so if I hit enter right now, and now if I just run the macro, look at that. And I can keep running that macro all day long. I mean, some people say, well, that's almost like a copy paste. Well, you can do more than that. I could have it insert text boxes. If you have a colored drawing object or word art that you want, and it took you, 10, 15 minutes to mess with it and to get it perfect, we'll record that. So that way, when it's ready to go, it'll go boop and pop it in wherever you want to insert that macro. Or you can run a wizard or do a lot of things with macros. They're pretty powerful. If you want to edit it, go up to Tools, Macro, under Macros, and here you can see Company SIG. Here's the only macro I've got. It types in Acme Instrument Inc. That's pretty cool. I can go ahead and edit this by selecting this. This brings up Visual Basic, which is all macros are doing. They're running on Visual Basic, and I can come in here and change my Visual Basic. Now, this is not a course on Visual Basic. I'm not going to even pretend to teach you this, but if you do know how to use scripting and know how to do Visual Basic, you can create your own macros. Just about anything you can think of, you can do with Visual Basic. It is a pretty sweet programming language that you can use. So let's go ahead and close that, and you can see now our Acme Instruments Inc. macro is up and running. So as we wind things down, we'll notice that we have, of course, the importing and linking of the data for our charts. And that's important. If you're importing things from Excel or you're trying to do some sort of presentation, you can do that. And you can either just import the information or link it, so that way when it updates, it'll update your chart as well. Creating forms. We always wondered, how do we do those drop-down boxes and the check boxes and stuff like that? How do you do that? Well, you can use that with the form fields. And then finally, macros. Yes. You have to be careful, though, and I want to warn you here at the very end. Do not enable macros unless they are ones that you've designed or ones that have been given to you by people that you know that actually designed them. If you get them in the email or someone goes, hey, here's a cool new macro, be careful. You might want to set your settings and your security to pretty high. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.